Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Disclosure Now. I am here with a very special guest, Drew Schmidt, who recently wrote a book and published a book called Peeling Back the Veil Conversations About the Woo. And how this all happened is my partner, Rin, um, knows Drew from Appleton, where we grew up. And basically, he wrote this book, and he kind of sent her a link, as you do when you make a creative work, kind of show the people you know, and just say, "Hey, I did this thing." And she's like, "Wow, that's crazy! My partner runs this YouTube channel about paranormal stuff." And so here we are. And I really appreciate you coming on the show, Drew. Why don't you just kind of give people an introduction to who you are and what this book is all about?
Well, put me on the spot, right? Yeah, like you said, Drew Schmidt. I grew up in Menasha, Fox Valley area in Wisconsin. Never really thought much, like that's, whatever. And then as I grew up, I kind of bounced around the state, and I realized, hey, this stuff's kind of everywhere. I've always had some like weird experiences. I'm kind of getting right into it. That's basically what my book is about. Um, I went on a different podcast, and they just talk about weird stuff. And that podcast kind of turned into this book. Because while I was researching it, I was like, okay, I made a list of things I've experienced through my life. And then the next triggered the other, and then another, and the other, and the other. And it was like, oh man, this is a lot. This is not just one or two things. This is like 40 years worth of experiences and just weird things happening. So I'm like, I got to just write this down as like just a document for other people that have
Mm-hmm.
experienced this stuff. And now that I've kind of put this out in the open, out into the world, I thought I was going to be like, oh, you're crazy, or this is stupid, or you're just making this stuff up. It's turned into like, yeah, like affirmations for these people. Like, I thought I was the only one. And like, that's the whole
Oh,
point,
you're definitely not the only one.
you know. So like,
Yeah,
it's working. That's all I wanted was like a documentation. Just get it out there. I make 66 cents per sell of the book. Whatever. That's not what it's about. you know,
right, right.
just check it out. You know.
Um, what was the first kind of woo experience that you had that you have documented in this book?
It goes all the way back to the age of 1. In the house that I grew up with. I don't want to give it away, but I will if you want me to. The whole book, because you can listen to other podcasts too. I can give you that link. I don't want to say it on here if you're fighting or whatever about it. Um, but like in this house I grew up in, there was this spot on the carpet, and like I don't remember it. I would just remember the story that was told to me by my mom, and they would clean it, and then the spot would come right back. They thought maybe someone was killed or died, had a heart attack or something, but they thought it was like a blood spot coming up over and over and over again. Um, and kind of like stepping forward into like my life, and I was compiling this list. It was like I wrote it down by like year. I have all my notes in the book for that show. Me compiling that and turning it into something readable, not just like a list of
Yeah.
junk. And then at the end, it's like more experiences that I've had. So age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stuff like that.
Do you have any like alien abduction experiences at all?
Possibly, I wouldn't. I would say they're an abduction, but they don't fit the norm. I don't have any recollection of being in a craft or anything like that.
So, are you familiar with my work and what I've been talking about and basically blowing the whistle on?
I am not, honestly. I was just thrown your direction because of the show.
Okay. Well, basically, there's a underground military installation underneath Appleton, Wisconsin, and it is a hub for MK Ultra Black Ops assets that are put into like time travel secret space programs. And unfortunately, judging by the fact that you've had a lot of really weird things happen to you, and that you wrote this book, and that you were born in the Fox Valley, you actually could potentially be an asset that is in these programs.
sure. Yeah, just what's the word set me off, right?
Yeah, I just realized that I I mean, I guess to give some background on myself so you kind of understand, like, I got taken out of the talented and gifted program and like experimented on, and like they're attempting to activate psychic abilities in different children and stuff like that. And I'm not the only person who remembers being put in this program. I had a friend who had to go to put themselves in a mental health treatment after I went public because they also got memories back of being taken out of school and put into these esoteric programs. And yeah, just Wisconsin is in general a very much so a place of like super duper high strangeness, a lot of weirdness going on. People don't realize that the birthplace of the Republican parties in Ripon, Wisconsin. We have the John Birch Society in Appleton, Wisconsin. So there's just like all this really weird stuff and a lot of really weird Masonic stuff too. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the stories about how in Manitowoc, how the Masons stole the skeleton of the Native American chief, and the police pretty much literally had to say, hey, you have to put it back, and like all this weird stuff. So Appleton's a really weird place with a lot of really weird things happening, and I just can't help. I just think that like your story and my story, at the very least, are probably like loosely related in some way. I mean, we're both from the same place, and I've had a lot of weird things happen to me, and I can tell you, Drew, that like it took me a very, very long time for me to realize, wait, time travel, clones, consciousness transferal, black ops programs, all this stuff. I mean, it sounds totally like Ghibli gook like craziness, but it took me a lot of research, a lot of like confirmations of just like really weird things happening to me and different people's testimonies lining up for me to realize that there's you got to have some pattern recognition. Like, all this weird stuff happening in Wisconsin and then the Fox Valley and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's happening for no reason. So, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious. That's like background on what I've experienced. I'm just kind of curious, like, if you've had any weird experiences that have to do with maybe the school system there, or like that, or maybe like missing time. Have you ever had missing time? Or time displacement? Have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
Yes to all of those. So come to find out, I was labeled learning disability or LD growing up. I had a really hard time reading and doing math and stuff like that. So they would take me out of classes and pull me aside to do these different things. And I didn't write about this. This is like, I didn't think it was related, but maybe it is. This is the point of the book, to connect all the pieces, right?
Yeah.
So doing things like this puzzle together, or if I turn this, what would the drawing look like of this other side? If I say this word, what do you think? Word association and things like that, like stuff that you really wouldn't think would be associated with a reading disability, or like bad at math, or not being able to pick up on math. There was this one specific time that they were saying words, and they're like, okay, what comes to mind or what's associated with it? And I forget like the first and last word or whatever, but I remember them saying leave, but I misinterpreted.
You're freezing up. The last thing I heard you say is, I remember them saying leave. This could very much potentially be interference. Yeah, he just dropped out. Are you kidding me? Holy cow. Okay, let's see if he comes back, guys. Let's see if he comes back. So it sounds to me like he also had some weird stuff happen in his school, and it seems to me like he was probably put into these programs. That's why I was really interested in having this guy on the show. He's just a guy who had a lot of weird things happen to him, and he's like, oh, I probably should write a book about it. And he did. And yeah, I'm sure he has a lot of fascinating stories. I hope we can get him back on here. Yeah. So I'm gonna maybe call him. Ah, there he is. You need to connect your microphone and your camera. There we go. Wow, it's being real finicky here. This is what interference looks like, people. All right.
That was great.
Yeah, I don't think they want us to talk about this.
I know, it's getting too real. So I don't know how much you heard.
Basically, you said that they were like making you like look at these different shapes and doing all these weird tests, and I can't remember the exact last thing you said, but yeah.
But yeah, so like this, because I was labeled, reading and math difficulty. Well, I'm really good at like spatial relationships and geometry. Later on, I've discovered that. But these tests were like the weirdest things. Like, I'm gonna take apart this puzzle now. How fast can you put it together? Or can you put this puzzle together upside down, which I'm really good at now for whatever reason. That's how I prefer to put a puzzle together. Whatever. So there's this word association thing that they had, and I don't remember the word before or after, but they would say something, and then you have to try to describe it or something like that. And the word was leave, but I heard leaf, and I'm like, well, oh, that's a hard one. And like, oh, really? Why is that a hard one? Like, this is like a core memory, because it was like really like I was under pressure. They're like in my face, like I can visualize their faces like right here, and I'm like, well, it's just, how do you describe that? And I'm like, it's something on a tree, and they're like, no, leave. I'm like, oh, it's just when you go. It's like, oh, that's perfect. And that was like all I remember of that interaction, and I just remember that sticking out as like, what does this have to do with not being able to do math? Like, you know what I mean?
And that's the problem that I ended up having too, where I was unable to do math. And what it was like in the second grade, I was a pretty great student, and then in the third grade, I just all of a sudden I couldn't do anything anymore. And it was because I got taken out of taken out of school and MK Ultra programmed, and my cognitive capabilities were greatly lessened because a lot of my alters are the ones who they gave those abilities to. They're the ones who can think more clearly. And in the here and now, what they do, most assets have ADHD because they fuck with our memory so much. So we have very short-term memory. Like if you put down your keys, you'll forget them, stuff like that. It's very common. And a lot of people think that that's proof that we're all full of shit and that we're not actually in these programs and like doing stuff. But this version of me that you're talking to now is my cover alter. And essentially what it is I was putting these programs and, I could do some pretty crazy things like read people's minds, crush cans, do telekinesis, reading minds, all that stuff's real. I could do it all. And in these programs, they use all these abilities for military purposes. And it's not so they're in the talented and gifted program. They're testing all these kids to find out who has psychic abilities, who has abilities that they can use in these programs, and then they siphon them into the programs. And the way that they're able to do this without people realizing it is they have consciousness transferal technology, and they have the alter programming. So essentially, they give people DID on purpose, give them compartmentalized personalities with amnesia memory barriers, and basically they program you to be able to be put into these projects and live whole lives where you work for them. And they essentially take your consciousness from one body and put it into a clone body, and you work for them. And I've worked for the CIA, the Air Force, the Navy. I've been to other planets. I was part of the Montauk time travel project. And the reason why I bring up all this stuff is because it's almost certain that you were in these projects. I hate to break it to you, but if you're from the Fox Valley in your whole life, you've been having really weird things happen to you, there's a reason for it. It's not a coincidence. And I don't know if you know about this, but have you watched the show Inside Job on Netflix at all?
I have not, but just to kind of hold up where you are. Okay. I wrote in my book right here, the spinning wood chip. This is kind of where it started. I can move things with my mind. Age 10, 11, 12, third grade, right? The next chapter
And
is
I remember that too. I remember my friends being
owning
able
the
to move.
crap. Like, come on, remote viewing. Like, it's all
Yeah,
sequential. Like,
you're in the programs. I don't remember you, and then that doesn't mean that we didn't encounter each other because
this interaction, how is this? Random? No.
no, I don't think so. No. And what we're doing, Drew, is we're exposing these clandestine programs who are kidnapping children. I was kidnapped as a child. I was kidnapped. I was taken away from my home and I was turned into a piece of military equipment. And I can almost guarantee, Drew, and I'm sorry to be the one to break this foul news to you, but I can almost guarantee that that's what happened to you too. You probably have clones that are in the Navy, in the Air Force, in all these different programs, because what people don't understand is we're already in space. We're already in space. We're already out there. Time travel makes people not understand these things. Like, we have colonies that are hundreds, if not thousands of years old that didn't get established until after the 1950s or 1960s because they went back in time to create these colonies. So even though they didn't even start till the 60s, they technically have existed for thousands of years. When time travel, when we understand, start to get to the time travel aspect of reality, that's when a lot of these things that don't make any sense to people will start making sense. And yeah, I just think that, yeah, it's actually, I knew that this was going to line up in a way when I talked to you, but it's actually crazier than I thought it was going to be, because right away your book is talking about having telekinesis. I got telekinesis and all these weird abilities. And then, yeah, that's what they're looking for in these programs, Drew. They're looking for people who have abilities that would be useful for them in the military, for military purposes. In advanced combat, telekinesis is a part of it. I would do like the force push where they all just fucking fly back. I would do that. I could wrangle people's intestines, like with my mind, like torture them, like all these things. And they never ever expected any of us to be able to figure any of this shit out and realize that this could happen to us because time travel. How could I have been on another planet fighting, you know, giant ants and all this crazy shit? If I was in when was the opportunity for that to happen? It's this thing they call 20 in backs. Have you heard of that yet?
I'm not, but the ants ring a bell. My kids talk about giant ants in the woods. So,
Yeah, well, they're real. They're real. Basically, we had a war with these ant people. I don't know the time because time travel gets so confusing, but we had a war with the ant people here on Earth and also on Mars. And essentially, what it was is, like, I remember Mount St. Adams over here on the West Coast was a territory that was owned by the ant people, and our humans, like, I can't remember what government it was. I think it was actually the American government. Said, hey, we need to build some roads through here and stuff to the ant people. And they're like, we don't want you to do that. And they're like, well, we're gonna. And they're like, you be encroaching on our territory. And I'm like, yeah, but it's just a road. It's just for passing through. And they're like, no. So a war was actually fought with these ant people over what are you showing us right now?
Some ant people.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, this all lines up. Me and you have never talked before in our entire lives.
So this concept of time travel, I think, this is just a working hypothesis on my part, that it's all happening right now. That just our brains are capable of processing in a linear fashion.
Yep. Everything's happening at once. There is no time.
I go into that in that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This is fun.
Well, this is fun, and I'm learning a little bit too. So your children talk to these ant people. What do the ant people say to them?
Well, my kids are pretty young. 6 and 5. My oldest is gonna be 14, and she kind of just like she likes to go out and look at stuff in the sky and that sort of thing, but that's about as far as she goes. But my youngest talks about seeing them in the woods at grandpa's, seeing things in their rooms. Sometimes, like, do they want to come out and play? We've gone so far as taped up their closet door because, in my experience, it's a liminal space. So where else are you going to hide out that you don't have a lot of collective energy stored at? You know what I'm saying? So they can utilize that space for their own energy as opposed to, I don't know really how to explain it. That's probably going to be like another book, but like, so anyway, they talk about how they're in their room and stuff like that. And then I also tie that back to, let's give you, I'm going to ask you and everyone a question, and don't like look it up or anything, but when you grew up and you had a bed that was off the floor and your leg was hanging out the edge, was there a fear there? Was there anything that you thought was going to grab you? And what did it look like? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm asking you right now for a second here. I'm going to find a picture.
I was always afraid of aliens, like literal gray aliens.
The grays?
Yeah, my whole entire childhood, I was terrified of them.
Start with the grays. I'm going to be 40 next month, for the record. So this is very dark, but there's this hand, right, coming up from under your bed, this black hand thing. Like, what is that about? I talk about this in here, how we all have this memory, we as in like kids, but I don't specifically remember telling anybody about it. But it's all like the same, like this thing's gonna grab you, right? You jump under the covers and then you're safe under it. You pull your leg in or whatever. Like, what is that about?
Absolutely, yeah. That's what that's about to me. Like, from what I remember is, I actually kind of remember it happening. Light coming through the window, everything starts sort of vibrating, and then you get literally pulled out of your bed. You start floating, and you float through stuff. You float through the window, and you float through a hole at the bottom of the ship and into the ship. And they normally make you forget it. You don't remember it. But I've gotten the memory back, and that's what happens. A literal light floods your room, and you start floating into the ship. You just get floated into it. Sometimes they'll come and physically take you through a portal and stuff. But that's one of the ways that they'll do it. And the Greys, they're actually working for human military organizations most of the time. There are Greys that are doing a hybrid program where they're actually, there's more than one different kind of Grey, but one of the groups of Greys is us from the future. After, in a really bad timeline that isn't our timeline, I guess. I don't know. It's all confusing, but they're trying to basically save mankind because apparently we've all interbred so much that within 5 generations, we're going to have trouble breeding. Humanity is very inbred because of racism and stuff like that. And so apparently that's going to become a problem. And the ET, the hybrid, the ones that are doing the hybrid program, or they're taking people's sperms and eggs and stuff like that, apparently it has to do with literally saving mankind. Like, everyone thinks it's just like a nefarious program, but they're actually trying to help us, apparently. Not claiming that as fact, but I remember being taken by the Greys many times in Wisconsin. I was taken by them at High Cliff Park in the middle of the day. Middle of the fucking day. Me and my mom were taken by them. And then I asked my mom about it. She doesn't remember anything. And nobody saw it or remembers anything. Another thing that happened was it was on the way back from court in Calumet County, and it was like kind of on the outskirts of Stockbridge, Wisconsin. Or like between Chilton and Stockbridge. We got taken then too. We pulled over to the side of the road, and there are these ships everywhere, and we got taken on them. And me and my mom never remembered it. And I remember when we were driving home, all of a sudden it was dark, and me and my mom were like, "What the hell? How did 3 hours pass?" And my mom literally made the joke, "What if we got abducted by aliens?" and laughed. Meanwhile, we literally did fucking get abducted by aliens. That's how good they are at covering this shit up. Another thing that happened at Mead Pool, bro, I swear to God this happened. when I was like 7 or 8 years old, bunch of fucking reptile people just started portaling into Mead Pool and just grabbing kids. Swear to fucking God this happened. They were everywhere. They were just grabbing kids. They grabbed me, all right? And they used us for this war. They put us into, it was all assets. They put us into super soldier bodies and used us for this war. We fought in this whole fucking war. And then they went back to that moment and put us back. And then they wiped out everybody's memories and made it so that event never fucking happened. Like if you ask anybody in Appleton, Wisconsin, hey, remember the time that reptile showed up the Mead Pool and started kidnapping the kids and all the adults were running and everyone was running and screaming and crying? Does anyone remember that? Not a single person remembers that happening. I also have another incident that happened to me in Stockbridge, Wisconsin, at the school where we're at recess. A spaceship showed up and aliens literally fucking came out of the spaceship. They just started walking towards us. I remember all the teachers and all the students, everyone was running. And the principal was like, what are you doing? Just standing there, get inside. And I was the only kid that was just standing there, like, as these things were walking towards me. And it actually had a name. It called itself Martin. And it turns out I got on the spaceship. All the memories really blurry. But I'm telling you, Drew, you need to do some searching into your memories. You have blocked memories of extremely insane things that happened to you. I guarantee it. The Fox Valley is not a normal place, period. It's not. There's a lot of time travel stuff going on there. And the thing that I was going to tell you that I got to, that I almost got to, but I didn't. The show Inside Job, it's a show on Netflix, and basically it's about these secret agents that work for the dark government, and they do time travel. They go to other planets. They're working with aliens, all this stuff. And the last episode of the show, my guy, which you know how they show us in the media the truth, right? You know about that, right? How they show the truth in plain sight. The last episode is literally called Appleton, Wisconsin. It's literally called Appleton, Wisconsin, bro. And what happens in it? I've been talking about how this is what they did to me before this episode of the show ever came out, okay? So people can't say that I got this from the show. Go back in time and watch some of my oldest interviews, all right? They literally say in the show, these agents that are working for the dark government, basically the Black Ops time travel programs, like the ones that I work for, they decide they want out of the programs. They're tired of getting chased around. They're tired of being in danger. They're tired of all this weird shit happening around them all the time. They just want normalcy. They want normalcy so bad. So what do? They make fake identities, fake memories for themselves, and they make deep fake photos of a whole life for themselves, and they wipe their memories and give themselves a life in Appleton, Wisconsin. That's an actual episode of Inside Job, and that is literally what happened to me. That is literally what I did. I don't remember why. I don't remember how. I don't remember all the details. But there's a great, like, dude, it's a super soldier housing spot. Like, it's like a shopping mall for these time agencies that take people and put them into these programs. It's a convenient place where they're all stored, they're all under MK Ultra mind control, and Appleton is very much so, well, just the Fox Valley in general, it's like the Truman Show. There are agents and spooks fucking everywhere, bro, everywhere. I had to move out of that place, dude. I had to move. It's not that you can escape it, like, it's literally everywhere, like, it's out here in Oregon, too, but I am literally traumatized by my birth town, Appleton. I am literally traumatized by that place. I am terrified of it. I visit still, and I love everybody. You know, I love my family, and there's a lot of really cool things about the Fox Valley. Honestly, it's like a small place, but it's also big. It kind of has everything you need, and it doesn't really have anything you don't, sort of. Like, it's not the worst place in the world.
Yeah, it's perfect because they set it up that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. They set it up so you don't ever have to leave. This is why they chose Appleton, all right? Appleton has its own little ecosystem. It has its, like, the Fox Valley, it has its own little music scene that's self-contained and doesn't really leave itself. It has its own little culture that's self-contained and it doesn't really leave itself. And the world does not pay attention to Appleton at all. So it is the perfect place to house assets because it's just this nondescript place that nobody ever talks about. And that's literally what they say in the Inside Job show. Like, they're like, that's why they chose it. They're like, it's just the perfect place for us to go hide. And Appleton isn't the only place like this. There's a lot of different towns that have underground bases. I mean, even Beaverton. In fact, towns with the name ton at the end, 9 out of 10 times that means that there's a base underneath it. So yeah, man, sorry. Sorry if I'm like taking over this whole interview. I don't mean to do that to you.
So no,
Oh.
it's a banter back and forth, and that's what
Mhm.
we want. I don't want to be talking about my book the whole time. Like, it's not just about the book; it's about the experiences compiled into a book, so you can look at it and go back. And I even have little places in the back where you can put your notes. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I can find, just kind of like write down your own personal journal so you don't forget it or whatever.
Someone's Donna C says she wants to get hypnotic regression done, and you should look into this if you want, Drew. Have you ever heard of hypnotic regression or
Right,
quantum? You have?
Yeah, I have it. I've heard of it. I've recently taken up acupuncture for some health issues, and that's like a whole like deprivation type of thing. I talk about meditation in the book too. And once you calm yourself, then everything comes flooding in. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you need an outside person to help cultivate that. I break down step by step how to do it yourself in there in a couple pages, just to help out. Not to shoot these, hypnosis guys down or whatever, but I don't. I think you can do it yourself because it is all personal. Everything,
yeah,
yourself, right?
Yeah. In fact, that's the way that I've recovered all my memories is through just myself. I've never done quantum hypnosis healing therapy. I was gonna do it one time, and then the person I was gonna do it with got sick. Yeah, I do. Well, she actually was in the hospital and stuff. So, and it might have been targeting, and it might have been because she was gonna work with me and they didn't want her to. I don't know, but her name is Misha Johnson. She's a wonderful lady. Arkheim, do you recommend hypnotic regression if people are curious? I do. I think that Drew's right where you can go into your own memories, but I talk to a lot of people who just have such trouble with that. I mean, it's like if you got the tools in the toolbox, you might as well see if the tool unscrew the screw. That's the way I look at it. Different approaches work for different people because everybody's brains work differently. Everybody's memories kind of operate differently. So, but I agree with it's kind of like both approaches work, and I think DIY might be less traumatic. I'm sure some things I'm going to me I do not want to remember. I'll look at Drew's book of messes, and that's one of the things too is like if you are doing what Drew says and retrieving your own memory, it avoids more so. You might get some memories that are going to flash back and freak you out, and you might not be ready for them, but you're able to control it more than somebody else steering the ship of you getting your memories back. So I would say DIY is actually maybe a little bit safer, but I would say
like the DIY approach. I think you have to be in your own personal journey as well. You have to accept that you're going to see things, find things that are going to be like jarring, throw your belief system off, whatever, right? So just kind of be ready for that. You know what I mean? Like, don't open a door if you don't want to see what's on the other side, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that being said, if you go to these hypnotic things with somebody, like a friend, then you have that like safety net. But if someone's driving the ship, I think they can kind of persuade you a little bit subconsciously into saying things or thinking things more what they should narrate. That's just
this has actually been and this is something that people talk about is like my biological mother talks about this all the time, how people in the community, they'll go to somebody else for their memories, like a hypnotic regression or a psychic, and next thing you know, you got somebody else telling them what their memories are. So I'm on Team Drew when it comes to this. Like, I think it's best to just kind of get your memories on your own. I'm not trying to knock people who use QHHT or hypnosis therapy or people who do it. I know it can be like I said, a tool in the toolbox is a tool in the toolbox. If it works, use the tool. You know what I mean? But I just think that, like, yeah, if you can have more control and safety when you're just kind of doing it yourself, I think. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, and memory is such a weird thing too, because that's like the one thing with these programs where if they weren't able to screw with our memory so much, none of this would work the way it does. It's really all about them screwing with their memories. That's like 100% what it is.
On
Wouldn't
that
you
note,
agree?
how do you feel about this new fad, new now, the Mandela effect in certain ways? Does that tie into this idea of false memories and screen memories and things like that?
I don't know what you mean by that. The Mandela effect comes from time corporations changing the timeline and people remembering the other timelines. That's what that comes from.
Or are we just from different timelines? That's what
I'm
I'm
from a
saying.
different. I am from a different timeline. Yeah, I was actually born in Munich in 1953. And my real name, my original name was Jacob Emmerman. In this life, my name is Jeffrey Wood. I go by Arkheim Ra. But yeah, these lives, as far as I can tell, are fake, implanted. I can remember my father from another reality. I don't give a fuck. I'll say his name. His name is Billy Greasack. He's in a band called Big and Tall in Appleton. You might have heard of him. That guy was my dad in an alternate reality. And you can tell we look like each other. And I took him out to dinner to tell him that. And he's like, wow, you know, you might have expected me to tell you you're crazy, but I actually believe you. And what it is there's all these different realities, and these time corporations have put us in all these different realities. And what I've learned is like my mom is I know this is a mind fuck true, but my mom is actually my daughter. She was born on a time mission in France, and my dad is actually my nephew. And then I found out this lady who's a whistleblower talks about these programs. Her name's Penny Bradley. She's my biological mother. And then a German U-boat Nazi by the name of Karl Emmerman is my father, which you can actually Google this guy and find him. And he looks like my biological father. He looks a lot like him. And when I showed the picture of this guy to my family, they damn near shit their pants because he looks like one of us. So it's like it's all real. And basically, Drew, this isn't your first life. This isn't the timeline you're from, almost guaranteed. And yeah, this is all more or less like manufactured. And what's going on right now is we're all waking up to it. And what I think it is, because I mean, if I've come to realize that there's at least 100, maybe 200 like people who are in these programs, like just talking about it. And it's like, why would they let them do that? And why are we all here at the same time? All those weird things. I kind of, and I take this with a grain of salt. It's more of like for entertainment purposes. I'm not stating it's a fact, but I kind of think that we're all here to like prevent AI from completely destroying humanity. And that's why we're all here at the same time. And that this actually is maybe some sort of weird time mission. Because I would be put on time missions, Drew, where I'd be sent off to do something and I'd just be living a life. Just living a life. Didn't know I was a time soldier. And then I'd do a thing and all of a sudden a guy would come through a portal and be like, all right, good job, you're done. I'd be like, what? Yeah, you did what we programmed you to do. Come back. I So they can put you on missions and get you to do things. And they call it monarch programming because it's like a butterfly. When a butterfly comes out of the cocoon, it's not going to its mom. All right, mom, where do I go? How do I fly? Teach me how to fly. You know what I mean? It just knows everything. And it knows where to go, and it's just programmed. And that's why they call it monarch programming. So, yeah, really heavy-duty shit that we're talking about here. And I just can't believe how much this all lines up. It's always so amazing meeting new people like yourself and seeing how we're all basically just experiencing the same thing in different ways.
Hey, I don't know what else to say. You know?
Yeah, it just like I said, I feel like if I were to interview in a year from now, a couple years from now, I feel like both of us will probably know so much more. You definitely are gonna have to come on the show because over time we're both gonna realize more about ourselves, learn more about ourselves, and yeah, man, I just wish you luck with all this, with this journey and stuff like that. I know it can be really hard, it can be really intense, it can be really stressful. And a lot of people don't understand it. You know what I mean? But what's cool is it's kind of like you said, you didn't expect such a good response when you came out with your book. What's cool is I'm realizing that people are ready for this information more than we realize. The average man and woman and whatever you identify as on this planet, we all kind of realize weird stuff's going on and that the full picture isn't being told to us and we're being lied to. I think 90% of the people on Earth, or maybe I'm exaggerating, but more than half the people on Earth realize something really weird is going on, realizing there's being lied to. And I think a lot of people are kind of waiting like for this moment where some sort of authority figure comes out and tells us all the truth. Do you ever feel that way? Like we're all just waiting for some sort of authority to tell us it's
I
okay to
don't think it's.
believe in this
We're
stuff.
not even going to listen to the authority because there is going to be no authority. It's just going to be a clusterfuck of people that think they're in charge, but really everyone else, it's like if you have a mob mentality, they're going to take over, like, so we are starting that mob, if you want to say that. Like, we're coming out saying, hey, this is what's going on. There's something to it. It's been going on for ever. um, we're just kind of all writing it down and realizing it and connecting the pieces now because, you know, because we're more interconnected. Like you back in, I don't know, colonial times, there was tribes and things, but all their stories jive up, but they never talk to each other. But now we have that
Yeah.
ability, you know what I mean, to share our stories faster, easier, and you're like, yeah, mine's the same or very similar. So there's definitely
Yeah.
something going on. Um,
It just it gets absolutely wild, man. And like for some time, there's like a bit of cognitive dissonance you can have where you can be like, oh, I'm crazy and this isn't real. But eventually it gets to the point where you can't ignore it anymore and you just realize like something really weird is going on. And yeah, man.
and that's kind of where I got to with my book. Like before I even started writing it, and I was asked to go on another show. It's like, all right, well, this is my, this is my truth, so I'm just gonna tell you what it is, and it was, you just have to accept it, and then you kind of move on from that, and then here we are, like, kind of just living it up, you know. So I don't know, it's kind of what it is.
Wow.
And
I
I
got
don't,
I got a person in the chat that says CIA won't tell you anything I've asked last time they raided me. Urso, you got raided by the CIA? What? Oh shit. As a joke, of course, but they said they don't release files on people. This was North Carolina, and CIA are in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Well, the CIA headquarters is in Langley, Virginia, but they probably have more than one operation headquarters or whatever. Well, that's kind of crazy. You got raided by the CIA. Urso, do I need to have you on the show? Sounds like you'd have a lot to say. Do you want to maybe just go into some more of like if you don't mind, like maybe one or two of like kind of the short stories you have in your book to just kind of jog people's
well, I can just, I'll
interests?
do like an overall, yeah, there's an overall grays theme throughout. They've always been there. Um, that was one of my first core memories, was when I was 6 years old, and I snuck down to see if Santa came yet, to see if Santa was real or not, right?
Mhm.
If there were presents there, he's not supposed to come yet. So why would they be there? Well, they were there, but out of the corner of my eye, we had a coach down. It was like a lower level, like a tri-level, whatever. It was under the ground, maybe like 6 feet or whatever. So that it was kind of like our little living area. And later we would keep our computer with the internet, that cool thing. Became the game room and stuff. But on that couch, out of the corner of my eye, I saw these things, and I didn't know how to explain it at the time. I just called them skeleton people. All right, and they freaked me out, and I think I freaked them out too. I'll kind of go into detail about it a little bit.
Because they're like, wait, they can see us. What the
Yeah,
heck?
right. But that's the whole point of the book. It's peeling back the veil, right? I didn't know what else to call it. Like, you know what I mean?
Can I see the cover there real quick? Can you show the cover
Oh, here,
just
hold
so
on.
people can see it?
So this is my merch I just started.
Oh, cool.
So here, let me hold up. So I got so many copies of this thing, and so I don't know. There you
Yeah, it
go.
looks great. It looks great, man.
It's AI
Really cool.
generated
And yeah, well, hey,
to a point. Because I want to sit and draw it, but I am a graphic designer, so it's just a tool in my tool bag. Going back to that. But so these things got up, and they had to have been 9 feet tall. Um, if have you seen the latest? Well, no, not the latest anymore, but Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
I have not seen that yet.
Well, luckily for you, I have a picture in here that I sourced out. Everything is, kind of like that, right?
Wow.
These things.
Yeah, truth in plain sight. Like the
This
ET
is
aliens
very
actually
accurate,
exist.
what I saw.
Yeah, like the alien from ET. There are aliens that look exactly like that, and I have encountered them. They literally look exactly like that.
I've seen
No different.
4 or 5 different species or subsets
Yeah.
or whatever. But so this gray theme throughout my life, which is through the book, right? They've always been there, in my room all the time, outside the window. It's milling around. There are 2 types. There's a shorter one and a really tall one, the 9-footers. Or no, not 7-footers would be, because I have 9-foot ceiling. That's what's wrong with that. So in this room right now, I'm imported. And it talks about moving from all over, and they follow me, or they're always there, and I just see them.
Yeah.
But they're always on the side of my bed, and there's this one that's always reaching out for me. Like,
Do you sense a malevolence or a benevolence, or neither?
Nothing. I don't know if they're like worker bees, like drones.
I actually had a gray show up the other, not last night, but the night before. It showed up here in my kitchen, right behind me. And
little guy, or
it was a little guy. Yeah, it was about
they're
this
little.
tall.
I think those are like the scouts. They're messing around, checking shit out, and then these tall ones are kind of in charge.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
There's a couple different places that I've lived, and it kind of goes into, like, they were not allowed into one of my houses, and it goes in. I want you to buy the book to read it, but also I'm not making you buy the book to know what happens. So, like, there is another being in the house. I don't know if it would be what we would classify as a ghost. I don't like that term. But some sort of spirit or something. There were orbs and stuff there too, but it was this girl from like the torso up in yellow, and I think that was kind of protecting the house, because I moved there during my divorce, and then my oldest daughter was there with me, and this thing was at her door. And later that night, it was a really bright moon, and there was kind of like it was like a double lot, so it was like a bigger yard on the side, and there was like trees and stuff, and the moonlight, like that picture I showed earlier, they were just milling around. It seemed like they were trying to get in, but they couldn't for some reason, or I didn't allow them or something. There's all these like working theories. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't think we're supposed to figure it out, but like, so there was the little guys, maybe 4 or 5-footers, and then there were these taller, lanky, skinnier ones, right? And those ones you seem to have more interaction with. Like, so much so is like, sometimes I'd be like, hey, I would talk with them, like I can feel them behind me, or, just always there. And it's like, hey, I'm making some pizza, you want some? Or, like that sort of thing. But usually at nighttime they come. Between 1 and 3 a.m.
Yep.
My idea is that there's less energy. So
there is. That's why I like making music then too, is because there's less energy interfering with the energy I'm putting into the music.
That kind of
like
ties into
music at night.
In between places and things.
Yeah, it was really funny. The one that showed up behind me last night, and I could see him, or not last night, but the night before. I was just kind of like, I'm like, just to let you know, you're probably here for one of my altars, because I have these altars. I'm like, I don't know who you are or why are you here. I'm like, I'm kind of not cool with it, but I don't sense anything bad from you, so I'm just going to leave you be. And I was playing music, and it was like, so you're not planning any of that? When I was playing the music, I was like, no. It was just like, how? Like, it didn't understand how I could just make music and not think. That was crazy to it, this being. And it just kind of hung out and observed me, and I don't really know why they were here. But that was literally 2 nights ago, so it's weird that you bring that up. And then the other encounter I had with a gray, which I've probably had a bunch between them that I don't remember, but the other one was I visited Appleton, bro, and I was triggered, my guy. I was having a bad time. Dude, Appleton is a traumatic place for me, and I was not in a good place. Like I started drinking to deal with the trauma of being there. I was like walking on the street, like yelling at the sky, like "Fuck you, Appleton! There's a deep underground military base that kidnaps kids and shit." I'm like screaming, like I could have gotten arrested, dude. And I ended up back at home, and I'm sitting in my room, and I'm like freaking out, man. And I had this moment where I was just like, and the door literally blew open because you couldn't see it because it's in another reality. It's like phased out of our reality, but I could see it. I could see the gray go like this and open the door and walk in. And this gray was checking on me. He was worried about me. He cared about me. It was not nefarious. He was like, bro, you're stressed out. Are you okay? That's why he was there. And
Sure.
so, and my partner, Rin, Catherine, she has grays that protect her. There's Leroy and another one, Leroy and Mother. And they followed her around her whole life and they protect her. So they're not always evil. And I want people to understand too. It's just like humans. There's a bunch of different kinds of grays. Not all of them are drones. Not all of them are those tall ones that give orders. There's actually like this is gonna sound wild to you, but there's grays who have their own planets and they all know about each other and they broke off. They're from the same species, and one of them wears all blue. They always wear blue jumpsuits. One of them wears all red jumpsuits, and then another one of them wears like a yellow one. And they all like kind of don't like each other and have their own thing going on because we're the blue jumpsuits. Grays are weird, man. They plan like, but we're so are we. We're weird. I don't mean that as an insult. We're just different than each other, so we're hard to understand. But like another thing that's crazy about grays, I remember what their worlds are like, how they lay out their worlds. I lived a life as a gray, and it was before they did all the weird genetic engineering and stuff like that. I still had genitals because now they reproduce through cloning, but they plan their entire cities through thought, like logically. Like they plan it logically so that everybody will have to travel the least amount of distance. Like they don't just place a building here and a building here and that. No, all of their cities are meticulously planned so everything is located mathematically perfectly perpendicular from each other. It's like crazy how well their society is lined up. And to them, we look like a bunch of children with Legos, like, oh, let's just put one here. Oh, skyscraper here. Oh, let's just put a school over here. We don't think about it at all. We don't plan it. We don't talk about each other. Hey, is it cool if we put this here and we'll put this here? No, we just build shit. They're not like that. It's all meticulously planned, and everything they do is logical and meticulously planned. And that's why this gray couldn't understand me improvising music. I was like, what? How does that even happen? You didn't plan it ahead of time? What? You know what I mean? They don't understand that. So grays are very interesting, and they have a bad rap that they really don't deserve because they're not inherently evil. Like, just like humans can be very evil. I mean, Hitler existed, right? But that doesn't mean all humans are evil. So yeah, it's just a common thing that we do. Prejudice is always a bad thing, even when it comes to aliens. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, kind of going on. I've seen some really little ones with like purple hats. There's a new one on me. I've only seen one time, and it was just like the weirdest thing. It seemed, I don't know, it was like some sort of like a mantis looking thing with 4 wings and like an X shape. And I remember like the profile of it was like an M with an X behind it. That was how I first saw it in like that doorway. That's like my bathroom right there. Like it was like right there because our bed is like right here. Like
the Mantan Empire is perhaps the largest empire in all of existence. The Draco Empire is meaning the reptiles. They're the ones who control this current era in time space. But the Mantid beings are extremely powerful. They have their own timeline altering program. I've worked for them. I have an author named Jonas who worked for them, and yeah, they're concerned with the future of humanity. They're concerned with the way AI is going. And what a lot of people need to understand is if this AI thing happens on Earth, it affects the whole galaxy. So that's why it's so important to all of them, because but I digress. But the mantid beings are very powerful. They're mostly benevolent from what I can tell. They're masters of genetics and masters of timeline manipulation. And the last time that I talked to a mantid being, another thing that's really funny about them, get this, their names are like hisses and clicks, right? We can't do them. So if you ask, like when with my mantid that I was talking to, I was like, "What do I call you?" And he literally says, "Just call me Steve," because they use human names. So like I talked to this other woman. In fact, we don't talk anymore. We had kind of a falling out, but her name's Yvonne Wells, and she told me the same thing. She's like, "Mine's name is Jerry." She, but just because we can't do that. We can't do their names. We don't have the capability. So like, and they don't want us to call them something weird like Xenon or some alien name. They want to feel familiar to us and personal to us. So like my mantid was literally like, just call me Steve, which is so funny. And what he told me was us being public and talking about all this stuff. He's like, he wanted me to know that it's a big deal. He took me about 3 years ago, and it was right after I went public, and he basically was like, "You need to take this really seriously, what you're doing." He's like, "Your cover altar wasn't really affecting the timeline at all, like all your other altars that do all these timeline changes." He's like, "Well, now your cover altar is affecting the timeline, and they need to start treating it like that." And what the mantid being told me is, if there's a bad future that I want to prevent, talk about it. Talk about it as much as I can, because then people can preemptively stop that future. However, if there's a good future that we want to happen that I see, he told me not to talk about it. Keep it secret, because the dark ones, that's intel for them, and they will figure out how to circumvent that. So he basically told me, talk about the stuff that is being hidden that needs to come to the light, but do not talk about the plans of the light to fight against the darkness, because they'll just use that against you, is basically what he told me. And this being just wanted me to understand how important it is that we're talking. And he stood me, I was in a holodeck, literally like a holodeck, and he showed me events throughout history that I made happen, like protests and just all this crazy stuff. It's kind of blurry, but he literally showed me. He's like, these events wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for your cover altar going on the internet and talking about the secret space programs. So it's gonna get real, bro. 2028 is the year where shit just pops the fuck off. Like in the year 2028, nobody will be able to be like, "There's no cloning, there's no time travel, none of that's real." Shit's gonna get so blatantly in their face real, like, cause like what we've had this whole time, Drew, is, "Oh, science fiction. That's Star Wars." That's gonna be a lot harder to say when there's literally robots walking down the street and stuff.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You're not gonna be able to have that cognitive dissonance anymore. So that's what we're approaching right now. Thank God. I'm so tired of all these people with their heads buried in the sand like a bunch of ostriches. It's high time we all accept our role as what we are and what's going on with all this stuff. So I've been talking a lot.
No, hey, it's your show, right? I'm here to answer questions. Like anybody that's watching want to pipe in too. Like every now and then, someone will type something. Like,
yeah. If anybody has any questions for Drew, feel free to ask them.
I'm probably gonna have to get going here in a little bit, but
we can wrap it up. I mean, I think we talked about everything we need to talk to. If anybody's got like one or two quick questions, we're probably gonna wrap it up.
Just tell you where you can find my book.
Sure. Yeah, and I have the link in the description as well.
So I've been back and forth with Amazon, since that's where everyone goes anyway, and Barnes and Noble, with they're a little smaller, and I've always had good luck with them. So I have. Let me show you this. I brought enough to share for the class, right? So if I spread these out, they look the same, but they're not the same. So the first one that I did, I've been showing you this. This is how I wanted it to look. Black. I wanted to knock out any interference that you have reading this book. Big font, whatever, so you can just do it hour and a half, divulge it, whatever. So I got this one made. This is from Amazon, right? And they're like, oh, well, we can't print these in mass production because there's too much ink, blah, 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 all these excuses. So then I'm like, okay, well, I need to do something different. So then, I don't know. Then I'm like, okay, well, let's just print it in white. That's not what I wanted, but it's more cost effective, whatever. So the black version would have been like $65 for you guys to buy. Stupid. This last version that's out you can get now is $20. Whatever, you get the information. It's not about making it look pretty because I'm an artist, graphic designer. I have this big grandiose idea in my head. This just gets the information out.
Yeah, it would be cool to have the black pages,
You
but I
know,
guess it's like expensive.
There's a couple of different versions, not for resale, whatever, blah blah blah. This one, look at this. What is this?
Is it half black and half not?
I don't know what they did. So I'm like, no. And like they're shiny pages, and that's very off-putting. Like, no.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I have this latest one that I've been showing you. It says economy version because it's $20, and then there is a black paged one in a hardcover because I can do that somehow. That's going to cost you $60 if you really want. I have a couple author copies that if you want, I can sign them and do whatever you want. And ship them out that way. But it's going to be like the same amount once shipping gets involved, whatever. But yeah, so I ended up going with Barnes & Noble because they were, back and forth. What's wrong with this? I want to do this. What's that? And that. We'll sort it out. Amazon, I think they're just too big and they don't care. That's all.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That makes sense.
But everyone's like, oh, go on Amazon. Well, I could buy them from Barnes & Noble myself and post them on Amazon and sell them. Yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah. Whatever. I can post them on my website and stuff too. It's just drewschmidt.net. That's all my art stuff too is on there. But like that's kind of the in and outs of it. I got a book fair coming up at the end of October, and that's why I made this shirt. Right? It's just whatever. This is the heat press, pretty easy. I'm gonna be wearing that, sporting it, answering questions, getting, all the eye rolls and whatever else at me. But
no, you won't get eye rolls here.
I'm just, out getting it, doing it, just.
Well, yeah. So that's where you get his book, you guys. Check it out. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Drew. It's been a pleasure. I'll probably have you on the show again some months down the road or whatever. We'll talk more because I have a feeling both of us are going to learn more and have more to talk about in the future. And good luck with the book. I hope that everybody who's watched this get a copy, support this guy's work. This is very important that we have this collaborative network of different people whistleblowing and telling their stories, because it isn't about one person doing it. If it was one person doing it, that's no smoking gun. That's no proof that this is happening. It's the fact that this is happening to lots of different people, as I've been saying. So thank you, Drew, for coming on the show and confirming my testimony, what I've been saying, and confirming the Fox Valley is a very weird place. So, is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up, bud?
I have maps in there too. You know what I mean?
Maps?
Like where this stuff happens. So you'll read the notes. Let's see if I can find it. So these are the notes, and then it breaks down to like a story of what you would think. And then in the back, look at that. Oh, there are pictures. Look at this. Here is a circled map of where this happens in this area. Like this is my backyard. There's stuff happening there, outside my window and under bridges, and like here's some more maps. Like I'm not making this shit up. Like
you know what happened? I got homies that told me, okay, so underneath the college bridge, it's not there anymore. They covered it in dirt, but there used to actually be a doorway, and it was like fenced off and like locked, and they buried it.
There's a tunnel there,
so you can't see it anymore. I have two friends who we would hike down there all the time, and they said one day it was open and there were two guys in all black military uniforms with guns guarding that hole. You want to know why? Because there's a deep underground military base doing all sorts of sketchy shit underneath Appleton, Wisconsin. That's why.
Why Appleton? Well, it's surrounded by water, and I talk about that a little bit too. How there's a lot of energy in moving water.
Yeah. Yeah, there absolutely is.
I'll just leave that out there for next time.
Well, and the audience really loved you.
Right?
So we're definitely gonna have to have
Oh,
you
that's
back.
good.
And yeah, like I said, people buy his book. I'm gonna wrap up the show now. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Disclosure Now. We have more shows coming up in the near future. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.